have the information hiding problem. If you haven't hidden your implementation, let's say with the generic book, you actually have the names array, also the records array. If you haven't hidden them, that means your clients might depend on those two attributes without watching. And later on, if you change your secrets, then that means the clients will be affected as well. Okay? That is why we first have to make sure we hide those two attributes by exporting them to none. This is how you do the bound notation. Okay, you should really know that. And if my question goes like this, okay, for the previous question, you do identify or you justify to say why, without hiding the two attributes, it violates the information hiding principle. That's part one. Part two could be, maybe I won't let you write a code. I would say present to me the design of applying the iterator pattern to this problem here to improve it. So this will be the answer I would expect. Okay? In this case, you can see that the first change I made was to first hide the two attributes by exporting them to none. So now any client has no access to these two. But they need to have a way to actually somehow iterate through the underlying records. So the way to do it is by making the generic book class iterable. So the first thing you should do is by inheriting this class here from the iterable class. Okay? And you can now see the critical thing to note is you should put a star on the iterable class because it's deferred. The only feature that class has is called a new cursor. And that only feature is also deferred, which means it has no implementation yet. Okay? So now, since you have this inheritance relationship, that means you inherit the new cursor feature to the generic book. If you don't implement that, then you will put a star here in the generic book as well. But since you don't want to do that, so you really have to implement that. That is why you see that you have new cursor plus, which means you're going to implement that. But how do you do that? In the simpler case of the card example, we actually have the implementation sequence being just one single array. In that case, you can simply reuse the new cursor feature from that single array. That is why in the iterator pattern there, you see that we have some class here called indexable iteration cursor. That is already something that's supporting iPhone library. So you don't have to define that, it's simply given to you. And that class inherits from iteration cursor. Okay? So now in this more challenging case, let's say now we have the two arrays, and there's simply no library class that will support the iteration cursor of two arrays together. There's simply no. So what you should do, again, we're going to support this new cursor implementation. We're going to make it effective, basically. The way to do it is by creating on your own a new class. In this case, I can call it my iteration cursor. So I can put effective here to show that my design. I'm going to create this new class here, and this is going to inherit from the iteration cursor, defer class. That means you have to make the three deferred features effective. They have to provide implementations. So now, how do we do the implementations then? That's the question. The way to do it is, so the after item and fourth features must be defined in terms of the sequence over here. So that is why in last week's lab session we actually show you how you can pass the sequence from one class to another using the constructor, right? So please review the video if you're not sure about that. It was recorded, it was online. So somehow we will pass the sequence from this book here into the iteration cursor here. That's why you will see another none, some exported to none section here with the name and record. So now, since this class knows about the sequence, so now it can actually do the after item and fourth definitions. Okay, that's basically the design. Okay, now in the client class, since now the generic book is iterable, so we can certainly write our contract in terms of a class, right? Etc. So if I ask you to present your design, that would be the minimum standard. Okay, question? Yes.
If we declare a class that subclass is the iterable cursor,
Iteration cursor.
the iteration cursor that is a child of class, say for instance, we put array there instead of iteration cursor or iterable.
Are you trying to say you could, it's actually not the direct?
Yeah, not direct, yeah.
Okay, that's okay. I think that
okay.
will also do.
Okay.
I see what you're trying to say. So you're basically trying to say, let's say iteration cursor is deferred. Let's say the iteration cursor is deferred.
Yeah.
Let's say somehow we have something called indexable iteration cursor. Right? That's actually the one I mentioned in the handouts. Indexable iteration cursor. This is actually the type that's returned by array and linked list, right? So let's say somehow your new class, my iteration cursor here, you actually return, my iteration cursor here. So you're trying to, so this actually pairs from this directly, but indirectly, this is a subclass of that.
Right.
So in your design, you put my iteration cursor here, iteration cursor here. You don't actually have to put that.
You lost me.
Okay, okay. Yeah, what I'm saying is, because the most important part about the iterative pattern is to show the iterable iteration cursor. And in reality, you might have some other classes in between. Okay? In your case, the reason that you actually inherit from the indexable iteration cursor, it might be you actually want to somehow to reuse the code of the indexable iteration cursor. So this is your actual programming constructs. Is how you do the declaration in iPhone.
Yeah.
Because your my iteration goes from here and then from there. But in your design, this part does not necessarily have to be shown.
Okay.
You can show that if you like.
Yeah.
That would be completely okay. But it would just get the diagram a little bit distracted.
Excuse me.
Sorry, let me finish.
Sorry.
So you can certainly put your indexable iteration cursor here and then put something like that. But you're a little distracted for the purpose of iterative pattern.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the difference between the indexed iteration cursor and the actionable cursor?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
The iteration cursor here is the top level there in the iterative pattern.
Yeah.
So that one is that class is deferred. But indexable iteration cursor is an effective class.
So that's like effective.
Effective means it's concrete. And you should really know the difference between deferred and effective.
Oh, so effective, they means all the methods are implemented like
All
this.
the features of it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to, correct, I'm trying to adapt your guys' mind from Java to iPhone. Okay, but that's okay. I know what you guys are talking about.
Or how my iteration cursor, is this means my iteration cursor, they added some features of the indexed iteration cursor.
Not necessarily, they might. Yes, in this case, yes. Because let's say iteration cursor here, they define 3 features here that are actually deferred. They have item, they have after, they also have for. Okay? So now in indexable iteration cursor, I believe they certainly have to make the item here effective, also make the after here effective, also to make the for effective. On top of that, you will also add a new feature called start that you can change. So this is something that's new. That's okay. Because now in some way, remember from before the break, we talked about having a subclass is like having some specialization of the original class. So now we're trying to say we want to be more specialized than the iteration cursor. So not only are we going to have the 3 features here, we're also going to have the start.
Oh.
Right? Questions? Yes.
So what you were saying before with the way it's crossed out, you can leave that out.
Oh, I'm trying to say you can leave that out from diagram. Not that you can leave that out from your iPhone. It's different. Oh, I'm trying to say, let's say, if this is really what's happening in your iPhone code, but when you're trying to present your design, you don't necessarily have to include this middle, intermediate details on your diagram. You don't really have to. You'll find it actually it's much harder to add a new class there in Visio. Yeah. So I'm just trying to say you only have to show the most important classes. Oh, that actually brings to a good point, actually good cutting point into assignments. The bond diagram I asked you to draw should involve all the clusters in the projects. However, in total, you got maybe about 10 or 15 clusters. You don't really have to draw all of them. you should really draw the important ones. Which one should be the important ones? You judge. You judge and I assess. That's the deal.
What if we put all?
Yeah, what if we say all are
Well,
important?
if you can manage to put all of them, yeah, sure.
Spend all.
And then I will judge to see if that's too much.
Oh my God.
But the point is, when you're trying to present your design, always present, not to present all the details, present the most relevant details. If all the details are relevant, present all of them. Okay? Okay, good. Okay, so now you know how to draw model diagram. I actually mentioned quite a few examples already. So please make sure you actually draw the arrows, put the star, put the plus, also to write the feature names properly. Okay, that's very important. Yes?
Sorry, I forgot which, what's the difference between the big line and the small arrow?
Oh, okay. So basically, if you say something like that, with double arrows, with double lines. So this means client supplier. So typically, you put client here, and you put supplier here. And usually, you actually draw horizontal lines for client supplier. Okay, that's client supplier. And now, also for inheritance, that will be a single line arrow. So you put the super class. Also, you put a subclass here. So that was inheritance. Okay, that's the difference. Okay? So for example, let's say in a test, if somehow you put this as double line and put this as single line, of course you get some marks off. That's for sure.
Oh.
Okay, so not too many notations to memorize. So I think that's doable. You guys are not too old, so you should be able to memorize them. Okay, good. So any questions about the diagram? Yes.
In this diagram here, the arrow points to the top, to the zero.
Okay, good. So that one only shows the general architecture. Okay, so now in the test, you can either point this client supplier to that, or you can point client supplier to that. Both will work. Okay. I think it depends on how you declare the attributes from the test book. So let's say, if in your test book, you actually declare some B of type, let's say generic book. In this case, it's actually more appropriate to point to the generic book. However, on the other hand, if you simply say B is of type some iterable, in this case, it's better to point there directly. Okay? Any questions? Good. Okay. So now we are going to do a few more slides. And then now we have some design problem here. And I'm pretty sure you know how to solve that using your Java knowledge. So let's say we have an array of figures. And somehow, for all of them, we want to support the same feature to say how to rotate the figure. However, depending on what's really the current figure that we are storing, it might be rotating a different way. So let's say you want to rotate a rectangle, or if you want to rotate some 3D objects, so the implementation will certainly be different, right? But now we want to say somehow you will be able to first store all of these figures, objects in a single array. And second, when you are trying to retrieve the objects from the array, and you're trying to call the rotate feature on that, the correct version of implementation will be called. Okay? How you store the objects into the collection has something to do with polymorphism. And how the behavior of the rotate feature is going to occur, at the runtime, it actually has to do with dynamic binding. Okay, I'm sure you know about this already in Java. Okay, and also each figure has its own rotation method. So basically, you can expect the hierarchy to look something like. So at the top level, you have figure, and then over there, just a very simplified view. You may have square, you may have circle, and you may have some star, something like that. Have different shapes. Okay. And now, in the figure, we're going to support some rotate feature. Let's say that's actually deferred. And now, the square has to provide its own implementation for the rotates. Okay. And also for the circle, you have to provide different implementation for the rotate, and also for the star. So now, at the runtime, when you're trying to call the rotate feature, depending on what's really the current shape of the figure, it's going to call the corresponding rotate feature accordingly. Okay? Okay, let's see. So now, what we want to see here is actually the traditional one. That's without the use of the dynamic bounding too much. Okay, let's say we have an array of any. Okay, that means we can store anything there. Okay, so here, it doesn't have to be a figure. It can be anything. It can be a person, it can be an account, it can be a transaction, since it's any. We actually learned about this concept, in the generic book example. So that's why generic parameter is also a good solution to this, but now we're talking about inheritance. So now let's say we have a feature here to say rotate all the features by some degree. And now we can simply just iterate through the arrays using lower and upper. And for the test, you also have to know the basic features for linked list and arrays, like a lower, upper, has, force, put, make empty, for example. Yeah, all the basic features. Also for linked list as well. Okay. But in the final exam, you can feel free to put those put that information into your data sheets for the test. Okay, so now you can see that we are trying to retrieve some figures from the figures array. But now the problem is we are trying to do rotates. Okay, here. So now, how do we actually decide? Okay, let's say in the figures array. Let's say we have only 3 elements there. So this is the figures. Okay, let's say the first one is a rectangle, square, let's say. The second one is circle. The third one is a, let's say, star. Okay, let's say this is the array we have, the figures over there. So now, what we are having a look at, since now is any. So let me just put it here. So you say figures. Figures is an array of any. Okay, in this case, you certainly can store any figures there, but now how do we decide when I want to rotate this particular element from the figures? How do I decide? It should be the version of the square that I should call. Sometimes you want to have some instance of check, right? In Java, you might say, if the current figure is an instance of square, I'm going to go ahead and call the square version. Otherwise, I'm going to go and check to see if there's a circle, or I'm going to check if there's a star, etc. That's it. That's actually without using the dynamic binding, basically. Okay, so now exactly what I said. If it's a circle, do something. If it's actually polygon or rectangle, do something else. So all the problems comes from the fact that we put something here that's way too general. Way too general. Because you can see that the figure class here has the rotate feature. But because everything is actually also a descendant of the any class. So any class is really at the top. And any class basically has the most general features defined there. So certainly any class wouldn't have any rotate feature. Okay? So now, if you simply retrieve an element from the figures array, okay, and basically statically, it has no rotate feature defined, because the base type for all the elements is simply just any. And any has no rotate defined. Okay, we'll see more examples like that. That's really what the problem is or you actually declare something as way too general. Okay? Okay, 5 more minutes, and then I'll let you guys go. You guys look very patient. Okay, actually that's going to be something about the single choice principle. Oh, actually, you know what? In the study guide, I did list single choice principle, and maybe another thing that has to do with this lecture. So you don't have to worry about them for the midterm. Okay, I thought I could actually cover this, not today. Actually, you know what? I think it's better to talk about this after the midterm. But now, since you have about 2 or 3 minutes, do you have any questions that you'd like me to explain before I let you go? Yes. Sorry, say that again. A sample test? Actually, I don't have any sample test. Actually, I simply just created my test from scratch. I don't think there's anything that's similar. But what? Okay, let me give you some tips. Okay, I can be a little bit more specific. There will be the first part of question will be to give you maybe about 4 or 5 sub questions. I don't quite remember 4 or 5 sub questions. And then each sub-question will give you about 10 lines of IFO code, about maybe 5 or 6 lines or 10 lines. I might say this particular fragment of code does not compile. Why? Which line? Okay? Another possibility would be, I tell you that this fragment of code compiles, but it is potentially problematic. Why? And how do you fix that? That's basically question 1. If you answer all of them right, you get 20 marks already. Okay?
So 100 total.
Out of the 500 actually. Out of the 100, yeah, 20%. Okay, yeah, it's out of 100. Yeah, you got 20 marks already. And then part, okay, I can tell you that part 2. There's something about writing test cases. That's all I can tell you. Okay, you have to know very well how you write test cases in IFO. Especially the study question I listed for saying, how can you actually make sure that you can actually check to see if a particular contract is too weak or too strong. Okay, and anything that's related to that. I'm not saying you should only focus on that study question. There are many things that are actually related to that. Okay? Yes?
Do you want like the one kind of thing, like even when we're calling the agent part and also in the application?
Well, I would say the agent part is the only part you have to memorize.
Okay.
But you know what? I tell you what, if you really forget to include the agent, that's okay. However, you got to get the rest of the syntax right.
What's the percentage for writing the IFO code?
You mean for writing IFO code?
It means the second part.
The second part, well, second part is the second question, maybe about 10 marks or 15. Maybe it was 10 marks. And then you certainly, there will be a question specifically about information hiding. Okay? So you have to know information hiding very well. The best way to study would be think about all the examples I mentioned so far about information hiding. Especially in the cases where information hiding is violated, and how can you fix that? You know, for example, the diagram used to be there, could be one possibility. I tell you to give me the design which can ensure information hiding using the iterator pattern. Okay? And then you have to also know very well about genericity, the generic parameter for the classes. You have to know the whole story well. You have to know, if we start with the design with say, a class which will store, for example, like an array of any to implement the book. So I think the best preparation is to rewatch the generic book example tutorial. That's the best way to prepare. And then in that example there, you can actually do, well, you know, you got to think about why, you know, what the bad design looks like and what's its problem. And then to see how you can use generic parameter to improve that design. And then how do you actually adapt your interface from any into the generic parameter. Okay? And then, of course, you also have, that's one thing. Okay, and that's part 3. Part 4 would be to write. Yeah, so I think at part 4, part 5, or maybe that's together. So part 4 and part 5, you actually have to write lots of implementations and contracts. Okay? So I'll be very specific about to say, okay, for this particular feature, I'll tell you what the pre or post condition are, the pre or post condition is, either in English or maybe I'll give you some mathematical expression. So you really want to make sure you understand the mathematical expression we have shown you so far in the lecture. And then I would say convert that into valid IFO syntax. Okay, and for the implementation, of course, the complexity of the implementation would be more or less the same as the features we have seen so far. So nothing so algorithmic like in 3101. Nothing
So
like
just save
that.
that for Tuesday.
Yeah, I will save that for Tuesday for Jeff. Yeah, not for me. Okay, and that's it. So can I say that since I basically tell you everything I'm going to ask, I'll be stricter on the marking?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Okay, I do want you guys to do well, so don't worry. So study hard. But you know what? What I said will be on the exam. There's something I didn't say, which might be on the exam as well. Right? So you still have to study. I just want you to get more focused. Okay? So please do watch the